Hello everybody, today I want to talk about the spiritual deception of the New Age movement. Now the New Age movement, I know that it can be spiritual, it can talk about like being more compassionate, caring about the world and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of spiritual deception in the New Age movement, because I've seen things like people focusing on these different chakras, like you have to focus on this energy system, you have to focus on that, or you have to have this crystal or that crystal, and all of these different types of rituals and things like this. But it's a distraction. I even seen people become more selfish and more narcissistic based on the New Age movement. I've seen people who say things like, oh, it's all about the self, it's all about what I want, all about me. I've seen like many of these things. I've personally seen people become more selfish as they fall into the New Age movement. So while it can give you information, it's good to increase your wisdom. As Jesus said, the people perish for lack of wisdom. It's good to increase your wisdom. But once you lose track of the narrow path, that's when the trouble begins. That's when you lost your way. And I hear people even saying things like God is here to serve us, like, and by us, they don't mean like, oh, God is here to serve us, like collectively as His children, as the world that He cared about. For God so loved the world, He sent His Son, only begotten Son. But it's like they're saying that like God is here to serve us individually, our own personal desires and stuff like that. But in reality, God is here to serve us. Jesus said, I did not come here to minister, to be ministered, but to minister to others. I did not come here to be served, but to serve others. And the greatest of all is the one who's the servant of all. He said that in Mark chapter 9, I think it was, that the least of all and the servant of all is the greatest of all. And Jesus is the greatest of all, because he was God's love in purity. In purity, He was God's love in purity, in pureness. And even when He was being crucified on the cross, He said, Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even when He was going through extreme pain, He still chose love. Even when things were scary, He still chose love. Like, for an example, He said, turn the other cheek. Now, anybody could say anything. Anybody could say words. But Jesus actually lived the words. When the soldiers came to arrest Jesus to kill Him and crucify Him, one of the followers of Jesus drew the sword to chop one of the soldiers' ears off. And Jesus actually, it says that He healed the man. He healed the man, the very man that was going to take Him to be crucified and killed. He healed the man, and Jesus said, put your sword away, for those who pick up the sword perish with the sword. So we could see that even in the most scary situations, even in the most painful situations, Jesus chose love. Jesus was perfect. It says Jesus is the perfect image and likeness of God. So yes, Jesus, the human body, yes, the human body of Jesus, that's a creation. He was born into this world, into the flesh. The flesh is not God, right? The spirit, God is spirit. God is true. So, but the spirit of Jesus, the spirit of Christ, the pure love, that was a pure expression of God. And because Jesus never sinned, because Jesus never fell into fear, He always chose to love. He never fell into survival mode, greed, sin, whatever you choose to call it, darkness, whatever you choose to call it. Because He never fell into that. And He always chose to be generous and loving and caring. He is spirit, is equal to God. He is a piece of God that never became darkened. He is a light of God that's still shining at His fullest. So even though God is beyond this human body, God is beyond this form, Jesus Christ is the perfect God, the perfect likeness and image of God in human form. So even though, yes, God knows everything, God is aware of every place, and God is beyond space and time, yes, God is eternal. Jesus Christ is like God in human form, because His spirit is just God. He never sinned. He never darkened His light. He was always giving and loving. He never had, revenge. So, we can see, in Matthew, we can see how New Age can be a deception. It can make people more selfish and stuff. And in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, I think to verse 16, it says, "In everything to treat others as you want them to treat you, for this is the law." And it says, stay on the narrow path, for wide is the path that leads to destruction. And it says to beware of the false prophets that act like they're sheep, but they're really ravening wolves. And you will know them by their fruit, because the grapes don't come from thorns. So if we know that Jesus Christ, the law of Jesus Christ, is to treat others as we want to be treated, that this is the law and the prophets, if we know that that's to be the truth, and if we know that Jesus told us to stay on this narrow path and to even look for false prophets based on this, then you should have no fear about being tricked by any spiritual deceptions, or antichrist, or anything like that. And we could see in the New Age movements that there are different systems in the New Age movements, this whole chakra distraction and thing that does take you away from the narrow path. So I'm not judging the religion. I'm not saying that, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that make sure that your heart is always centered on love, because that's the true spirit. That's the true spirituality. At the end of the day, we always have the choice of whether we want to be a sheep or a wolf. We always have the choice of whether we want to be in the spirit of Christ or in the spirit of the beast. Now, the beast, the reason why it's called the beast, because beast means an animal. Animal spirit is survival mode. It's fear. It's survival mode. It's not having any faith in God. It's being scared of everything, trying to hurt other people, trying to be better than other people, being greedy because of fear. That's what the spirit of the beast is. The spirit of the animal, the nature of the animal. But when you have the spirit of Christ, you are living as a child of God. When you have the spirit of Christ, you have faith that when you love, that God will take care of you. You have faith that it's okay to love, that you can open your heart to love. Jesus says, do good works, let your light so shine before men so that they could glorify the Father in heaven. You don't even realize it. But when you are being given and loving and helpful, God may be using you to bring a blessing that somebody else needs in their life, and you don't even realize it. That because you chose fear, that you stopping that blessing from coming to them in that moment. Now, of course, God is always more powerful. God can always find another way to bring them the blessing, but that's not the point. The point is that you could be a vessel of God's love. Like it says, you have to be born again in the spirit of Christ. It says, "Beloved, let us love, for everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Is born of God and knows God, and he who does not know love does not know God." So this is what we have to look for. It doesn't matter what religion you claim to be. Even if you claim to be a Christian, it don't matter. What matters is whether or not you follow in love, because this is what God is. God is love. And this is what Jesus was in human form. Jesus is love in human form. He is God in human form. But this is what's important. So make sure you don't get tricked by any of these things. Like while you're sitting around worrying about this chakra or that chakra, or while you're sitting around worrying about this crystal or that crystal, while you're worrying about what happened all these years ago or whatever, you could be in the moment listening to the heart, listening to the love of God that's inspiring you to care and to love others. And the heart is most important, not the mind, the visualizations and all of this stuff. The heart is what's most important. It's the heart that develops first in the body. It's the heart that develops first, and then all of the organs are made around the heart. All of the organs develop around the heart. I really do believe that God put signs all throughout nature to remind us of the true path. Like, look at the sunlight. The sun doesn't shine because it's holding all of its light, and the sun shines because it's giving light. So God put clues all around nature. And Jesus Christ is a perfect way to know God, because Jesus Christ is, like I said, God's love perfected, never fell into fear and greed and survival mode. So you can trust Jesus' word. Now, in the Bible, you have to be careful too, because it's not just Jesus speaking in the Bible, it's other people speaking in the Bible. Some people were drunk in the Bible, some people had their own issues in the Bible, some people were angry and fighting wars in the Bible. Moses said that, like it's written in the Old Testament, in the laws of Moses, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not do that. Turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. So we could see that since Jesus is the perfect Son of God, since Jesus is the highest name in heaven, we could see that we could trust Jesus above all. So this is all that I wanted to say. So thank you. Yes. Oh, one more thing. I'm not putting down anybody else's religion. I'm just saying to stay, just to be careful that you don't mess up your compassion through following different spiritual systems. And another thing that I'm saying is that yes, there are other men out there. Yes, there are prophets out there and stuff. There's Moses. There's this person and that person. There's other people that have good intentions out there. But Jesus is the clearest voice because he never fell into fear and greed and survival mode. And the more you choose to follow Jesus, the more you choose to have faith and love and to give and to help others, the more clear things will become to you. So I pray that Jesus shows you the truth by always inspiring your heart to be kind. So I hope you all have a blessed day, and thank you.